You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome to Dear Texas, where we do encourage you to drop everything and read. But for those who have heard me before, don't break it. We don't want you to do that. We do, however, want you to pick up a great book and sit down, let the worries of the day or the week or the month pass you by as you enjoy a great, wonderful novel. Today's show is a special for the author's marketing event coming up July 28th through the 30th in Houston, Texas. It is an event that is for authors to learn how to better market and sell themselves. And we have over 20 different sessions to help discuss various ways to do that. And with me today, I have Fern Brady, who is a publisher as well as a writer herself. And she will be talking about using publication in journals, magazines, and anthologies to build your author platform. Welcome, Fern.
Oh, thank you for having me, Alan. I'm very glad to be here.
It's a pleasure. So let's jump right into it, and let's talk about how to use other publications to build your platform. Give us a synopsis of what you're going to be talking about.
Well, the talk is going to focus mostly on how authors can utilize their work, shorter work like poetry, short stories, essays, that might get published in a variety of different journals, magazines, anthologies, to really create a fan base. You know, a lot of authors are still working on their novel, and some authors already have multiple novels out. Whatever stage you're in, publishing work in these kinds of mediums, some of them are online, some of them are in print, some do both, can help you to create a following, can build fan base, and also just touch new readership that your own efforts with your novel might not yet be able to touch.
Now, you do that with one of the organizations you work with, the Houston Writers Guild, where you guys have an annual short story contest, correct?
Yes.
And
yes, and it might be opening soon.
I'm sorry, it might be what?
And it's going to be opening soon. The contest, I think it's going to be opening in August or something like that.
Okay. Now, our organization, Dear Texas, has also done the same thing for the last couple of years, and we have seen that be of great value to authors. One, for, it's a different way, for example, of writing a short story relating to one of their books, or two, just trying a new genre out and seeing how well they do with it. But as you've said before, it is a great way to build an audience. Have you seen that with your publications as well?
Yes. One of the things that I always encourage, and we'll talk a lot about this in my session at the author marketing event, is how to decide where to submit. Because you need to find anthologies. For example, with Inklings Publishing, we have several anthologies that we publish. The Guild, the Houston Writers Guild, their contest winners get put into an anthology. I know you guys do the same thing. It's important that these anthologies, that you are able to see that they're being sold. It's very important to see that the organizations, the publishers are actively marketing the books, are getting them into the hands of readers. Because the benefit really is that in these anthologies, you have so many different authors, and each author is doing their part to, promote the work because it has their work in it. The publisher or organization is doing their part, and so it becomes a real team effort, and you reach a much wider readership, a wider audience, and that audience, hopefully, they might be buying it because of a different author, but they'll find your work in it, and then they'll look you up, and then they'll begin to follow you and look at some of your other works that you've done. So it does bring in new people that you might not have gotten in touch with, by this team effort of pushing this work.
Right. One of the things you talk about is building up the audience through the website, the blog, social media, which, as you just mentioned, other authors in that anthology are doing the same thing. So it's a win-win for everybody. Am I missing anything?
No, definitely that is the key thing, is that it becomes a team effort. It becomes, because publishing, is a team sport. And so you really have to work together and to reach the wider audience. And these publications, through these contests that you get published in, through calls for submissions, allow you to reach new readers, because you're not alone, in your marketing effort. Your effort is being, exponentially benefited by everybody else's efforts as well, which I think is one of the big keys for why you really need to do it.
We're talking about anthologies, but how does that apply to journals and magazines?
Journals and magazines need to be very strategic when you're going to be published in them, because generally speaking, with journals and magazines, the volume has a let's say a time frame in which it's going to be in the public eye. So, for example, you get published in a magazine. It might be the magazine for November, right? So you know that in November, that magazine is available for purchase. So you're going to need to time a lot of your social media campaigns and other marketing efforts around that time when that magazine has your work in it, because you want to maximize that exposure of your work and the opportunity to reach new fans. With magazines and journals, also there's the opportunity to have, past issues archived online. Oftentimes, magazines and journals are just online, some of them. So there's the opportunity for you to be able to have, for example, links to the issue where your work was on your website, so that people can see that you've been published here and you've been published there, and begin to get more of your work, and the cross-linking of your website to the journal or the magazine's website. That helps when it comes to Google search engines, because, they have your work there, and hopefully they have your website link or how to contact you. And so it goes back to you as well, so that you're discoverable that way.
Okay. Is there a desire that the author who maybe is writing mystery horror, for example, stick with a magazine that is in that line, or does that matter as far as building an audience? Finding, if you want to write in romance for a short story, you can go ahead and do that and still apply that. Is there certain rules about that?
Really, the thing is going to depend on what your writing goals are. If you are definitely going to be writing horror or science fiction and fantasy, you definitely want to make sure that your work is in the magazines, in the journals, in the anthologies that are publishing towards that genre, because those are very, very niche kind of genres. If your work is more like, for example, mystery, or some historic fiction, or with romance, it's also kind of niche. But sometimes you can kind of branch between romance and other genres. The readership does sometimes enjoy, going and finding that, their favorite romance writer also writes something else. But when it comes to like really specialized genres like horror or really high fantasy and sci-fi, most of the time you really want to make sure that your work is being published in those journals that target that audience very specifically, because usually that readership does not necessarily translate to other genres. although, like some people like myself really enjoy multiple genre reading, I enjoy reading many things. But, you want to be discoverable for your focus. And that's really the key is if your novel, like we have a really great author, Dorothy Tinker, she writes fantastic fantasy novels. She's got 3 in her world that she has created. She's working on book 4. So she's putting out these small short stories that are also the setting is that world. And she's targeting the market, the magazines and the publications that will reach the people who like that, so that when they look her up, they find her books and they're interested in them.
Okay. There's a lot more. Oh, yes, it makes sense, and there's still a lot more that we can talk about, but we're going to step away for a moment, let our sponsors do their thing, and then we'll come back and talk more in detail. We'll be right back.
Excellent.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors.
Are you looking for a book festival in your area? Check out the Book Festival Network, where you can find local Texas book festivals, plus information about the attending authors, their books, and even videos. The website is easy to remember. It's bookfestival.network. Don't forget to spell out network. Again, that's bookfestival.network, your home for Texas book festivals and Texas authors. Read, connect, and discover. We have it all at Wimberley Village Library. We support our community by providing high-quality books in all formats. We have programs for all ages and many services to fill your needs. Check us out online at WimberleyLibrary.org.
Bourgeois Media and Consulting, a book publishing consultant where creative inspiration is realized. More at bourgeoismedia.com. EBG 247, where you can find ebooks galore 24 hours, 7 days a week at ebg247.com. Lone Star Book Festival is an exciting book festival to discover indie authors and publishers. To learn more about the award-winning authors, events, and other exciting events happening during the Lone Star Book Festival, please visit our website at lonestarbookfest.com. The third annual short story contest begins March 1st and runs through July 31st. Enter your short story for a chance at prizes and getting published. To learn more about this annual event, please visit our website at txshorts.com. McKinney, Texas's quaint downtown square, rich in history, entices visitors to discover its more than 100 eclectic shops and eateries. With origins dating back to 1848, McKinney is situated just 30 miles north of Dallas and 40 miles south of the Oklahoma border. One of the country's fastest-growing cities, McKinney maintains its authentic small-town atmosphere, which is palpable when exploring the downtown streets, taking a walk on one of the city's many nature trails, or even visiting the city's Croatian-style village. Learn more about what awaits you in this picturesque North Texas city at www.visitmckinney.com or call 888-649-8499. You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome back to Dear Texas. This is a special edition for the Authors Marketing event for July 28th through the 30th in Houston, Texas. It is the only program where authors can come and become certified in marketing for themselves and their books. It is a fun event. It's the second annual event with over 20 different authors, publishers, and others in the business that will help authors learn how to better market and sell themselves. One of those people is Fern Brady. She is a published author as well as a publisher, and she will be talking about using publication in journals, magazines, and anthologies to build your author platform. Welcome back, Fern. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. You had mentioned in the first section that you're going to be cross-promoting anthologies or your magazines or any of those things, but in the aspect of continuous marketing those items. Isn't that something that an author would want to do?
Yes. One of the things that you want to do as an author is to have your work always available for readers, to be discovered. So once you start down the path of marketing your work and getting yourself out there, it's really a question of continuing it. One of the things that I think is awesome about the event coming up at the end of July is that it gives them a chance to learn about a whole variety of techniques that they can use to market and get a certification, which I know as a publisher, and I know I've shared this with you, as a publisher, getting an author who submits a manuscript to you and has a certification in marketing, as an author, that's going to pique your interest. So, just attending these kinds of events, learning techniques to market, becoming savvy, will also make you more desirable, if you will, for when you're submitting your work to publishers, whether it's a novel or short stories or what have you.
And I appreciate you saying that, because it is true. When we did this informal survey of publishers, we found 9 out of 10 did prefer to have somebody with some marketing skills, because if nothing else, it showed that they spent the time to learn more about their craft and are willing to commit to it, which then the publisher is more excited about, because that means they have a partner in this field, correct?
Yes, because, the thing about publishing today, and even if you go with the big house, even if you were to get published by, the big Simon & Schuster or those kinds of people, they're not going to necessarily invest a whole lot of marketing dollars on very new authors. So you really have a lot of the responsibility for branding yourself as an author, for marketing your work, and the publisher does their part. But if you know techniques and if you're active in working it, then it becomes, like I said, a team effort. It becomes a team sport, and the benefits of it become exponential. If the days of the author sort of getting a publisher and the publisher just does everything and you just sit back and do nothing are kind of non-existent, anymore. Nowadays, the author needs to be very, very active and engaged in the marketing process, and having a conference which I think is awesome that you're hosting it, that focuses solely on those kinds of techniques is a wonderful benefit to the writing community. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
My pleasure. So we hope they will join us. I want to go back to something real quickly, because the word resume keeps coming up in my mind. By having authors participate and actively be involved in events and or journals and anthologies and things of this nature, doesn't that actually help them build a writing resume?
Definitely. And I can tell you, because a lot of people, I see a lot of authors that submit that all they want is just to get published, right? To be able to list that they're published here and there and have a list of where they're published. But the question that I always ask, and we just finished, Inklings Publishing just finished going through several submissions for the Eclectic Writing Series Anthology. The question that I always ask is, so you've been published in these places, what are you doing about it? How are you using that? Because it's not just about, I got published in this magazine or that magazine. It's about how are you using that to reach fans. What are you going to do if I publish you as a publisher? If I publish you, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to use that to your benefit, to my benefit, so that the whole community grows? And that's really what it is when you're working with journals, magazines. Journals and magazines, of course, like I said, the archived version is very important to have that link so that people can continue to see that you were published there and you can continue to grow your audience. But also just having, for example, one of the things that I mentioned in the workshop is having an example, a physical sample of the magazine that you were in, so that people can look at it. You're helping the magazine because now there may be people who are looking at it at your table or whatever, and they're seeing the magazine maybe for the first time. So you're helping them, and they're helping you as they sell and they distribute their copies. So it becomes really an issue of working together and keeping an active presence in the community, because that's the other thing. You get published in the one magazine and then nothing else. You want to keep going. You want to keep a presence. Readers like to follow very active authors. So maybe writing a novel can take a long time, but when you publish in these shorter formats, you can satisfy your reader that they get to read something new from you in between the time while you're working on the next novel, because you want to hold on to them. You don't want them to become disinterested in your work while you're still trying to finish up the follow-up book, if you know what I mean.
Yes, and I'm guilty of that. I will admit to it. I have a trilogy that I've been working on since 1997, and I have yet to finish the third book, and that's only because I'm so busy helping other authors. But I totally agree and understand with what you're saying. Keep them interested, keep the audience going, whether it's through the short stories, tweets, magazines, whatever it is. You have to keep them wanting more.
Yes, and this is kind of what is called kind of a bridge text, because I am hopefully going to have my first full-length novel out early next year, or maybe summer next year. I don't know, but definitely next year. It's ready, and so that was scaring me, because I thought, okay, I don't even really have a full first draft of book 2. What am I going to do? I don't want to give my audience the first book, have them love it, and then, lose a whole bunch of them because it takes me a while, because, I'm crazy busy to get book 2 done and ready. And this kind of bridge text where you're publishing these short stories, poems, little snippets that maybe continue to carry that audience for you. They're still getting some of your work. They're still enjoying you as an author in between, because bigger projects like novels do take time, and authors, vast majority of us, we have jobs. Some of us have more than one job, so producing the books can be a long time, but this little bridge text can help.
Okay. From a perspective of being a publisher, how do you see the future for publishing? Let's just keep it to a 5-year period.
Well, I really see a lot of authors that are making the turn towards independent publishing. The mechanisms for effectively being able to publish yourself is there, and we have organizations like the Guild, like the Texas Authors Association, that are working to help authors to know how to do that successfully, so that they don't look like amateurs. Making sure that you're editing and doing all the quality development of your book. So I see a lot of authors taking advantage of that, because it is an incredibly wonderful thing to be able to have control over all aspects of your book. At the same time, there's a lot of responsibility with that, because you have to make sure that the product that you put forth for your readers is high quality, well edited, and so, but I see a lot of authors taking advantage of it now. I also see a lot of small presses, medium-sized presses coming along and helping those authors who may not really want to do all of that, to publish yourself, you really have to be willing to do a lot of business side of work, that's not artistic and it's not fun. And so the small press, the medium presses, these small publishing houses are coming along and helping authors do that. One thing I see a very serious danger in is assisted self-publishing. Sometimes it's just a way of getting your work out there, and authors are paying a lot of money to these places, and they're not necessarily getting the quality work that they're paying for. It's sort of you have to be very, very careful as an author if you ever look at any of those kinds of things. And I would honestly say, if you're going to self-publish, do it on your own. Get your team together, get with organizations in your local community to find the good quality editors and formatters and everything, and or go with a publisher that is a traditional publisher that'll take care of everything. But I would say stay away from anybody that asks you for money to publish your work, because I still feel that that's still a real red flag.
We've only got about a minute, so any words about other things there for an update?
I would say for certain that you want to connect to a local writing community and get connected, not just, for example, there's some organizations that are very specific to genre, like the Romance Writers of America. There's the Sisters in Crime. There's some genre specific, but get connected also to skills like organizations like the Writers Guild, Writers McKinney Texas, the Fathers Association. Get connected, be active, go to the workshops, go to the conferences, because it's a great opportunity to network with each other, to find support, and to stay aware of what is happening in the industry, because it's a very fluid industry. So you want to stay connected to get that knowledge, that support, so that when you're out there making decisions about your work, you have someone helping you. You have some support. And there's so many amazing communities here in Texas, so many wonderful literary organizations. So the authors can definitely get the information they need, the support they need, and the camaraderie that makes this a wonderful area to be working in.
Well, great. I thank you very much for the words of encouragement for the authors and for those who are wanting to self-publish. We are at the end of the show, and I want to remind everybody the Authors Marketing event is July 28th through the 30th in Houston, Texas. It is available also as a video package. So if you're unable to attend in Houston, you are more than welcome to order a package and have access to the video so you can still learn these valuable programs. Thank you again, Fern, for being with us, and we will see you shortly.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio. To learn more about Dear Texas and its literacy programs, please visit their website at deartexas.info.